In the late 80s, gaming was changing fast. Consoles like the Nintendo were taking over living rooms, the Amiga and Atari were pushing home computing forward, and arcade cabinets were still gobbling cash like Pac-Man on a sugar rush. But in the UK, one company had an even crazier idea, a console that could transform into a racing wheel, a flight stick, or even a motorbike controller. It promised force feedback, mind-blown graphics, and an experience no other system could match. This was the Konix multi-system, and it never even launched. So, what went wrong? Well, let's find out, because this is the story of the most ambitious console that never was. Before they tried to change the world of gaming, Konix was known for one thing: joysticks. And not just any joysticks, some of the best in the business. Their speaking and navigator models were absolute legends, used by countless gamers in the 80s. The Konix speaking joystick sold so well. Launched in 1986, the Speed King accompanied a whole generation of gamers on Nintendo, Atari, and PC. It was the best-selling products until the early 90s. So, naturally, they thought that what if we made a joystick that was also a console, and a racing wheel, and a flight stick, and well, you get the idea. In 1988, Konix took their joystick expertise and went a step further. Their prototype, codenamed Slipstream, wasn't just a controller. It was a modular gaming rig. The idea was simple: snap on a steering wheel, a flight yoke, or even motorbike handlebars, and suddenly you had a whole new way to play. But then, someone at Konix had an even crazier thought. Why stop at just a controller? What if we made this into an entire console? Now, here's where things get interesting. The Konix multisystem wasn't just another Nintendo clone. It had some serious power under the hood. It was built around a 16-bit 8086 processor, boasted a 4:9:6 color palette, which was insane for the time, and had a custom blitter chip that let it move sprites faster than an Atari ST. It also had 8-channel stereo sound, MIDI support, and could run 3D graphics faster than even the mighty Acorn Archimedes. And instead of cartridges, it used 3.5-inch floppy disks, which meant games could be bigger and cheaper. But there was a tiny problem. RAM. The system only had 128 kilobytes of RAM, which meant constant loading times. Developers weren't thrilled. But a console is nothing without its games. Konix had some big names lined up. Jeff Minter of Llamasoft was on board. System 3 planned to bring Last Ninja 2. And even Electronic Arts and Psygnosis were considering jumping in. There was even a built-in game plan called Bikers, a futuristic racing game that would have shown off the system's unique motorbike handlebars. But despite all these big plans, none of these games ever saw the light of day. So what went wrong? Well, money. Konix was a joystick company trying to become a console manufacturer. Two very different businesses. The delays started piling up. First, they missed their August 1989 release window. Then it was pushed to early 1990. By mid-1990, the writing was on the wall. Developers started pulling out because they had no final hardware to work with. And Konix was running out of cash fast. They even sold off their joystick division just to keep the multi-system project alive. Eventually, the money dried up, the dream collapsed, and the Konix multi-system was dead before it even hit the shelves. But the story doesn't end there. The team behind the multi-system, Flare Technology, went on to develop the hardware that would become the Atari Jaguar. Some of its tech even made its way into arcade quiz machines. And years later, in the 2000s, a Chinese company actually released a cheap knockoff using the multi-system's design, though, without any of the cool features. Even today, gaming historians look back at the Konix multi-system and wonder, what if? What if Konix had found the funding? What if it had actually launched? Would it have changed gaming forever? Or would it have flopped harder than the Atari Lynx? So that's the story of the Konix multi-system, the greatest console that never was. What do you think? What do you think? Would you have bought one? Could it have competed with the Mega Drive and SNES? Drop a comment below, and if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more gaming history deep dives.